I started Single Daddy Daily right after my divorce, and I'm ashamed to say that I did it for all the wrong reasons. There was a lot of pain, and after my divorce, I felt like I wanted to share that with the world, to give a voice to all the anguish and sorrow I was feeling. I needed a catharsis, and I used Single Daddy Daily as my vehicle. I soon found out that this wasn't the approach I needed to take.
Our mission at Single Daddy Daily is to take the struggle out of single parenthood and create a community where people can find the tools to thrive as single parents. Strong, resilient, happy kids is always the goal as parents, a goal that can become more challenging when facing parenthood alone or in a blended family.
Divorce and single parenting is more and more common now than ever. The challenges that we face as single parents permeate all aspects of our life.
We want to be the #1 resource for single parents out there who are having a tough time navigating the waters of single parenthood. We cover everything from parenting strategies to dating after divorce, finding love after divorce, and creating a new blended family.
Divorce can rob us of those feelings of acceptance, and it took me a while after my divorce to learn to love and accept myself. To be honest, some days I still struggle with that. We all do. Single Daddy Daily is still my place of catharsis, but now it's from a place of love and not anger.
Hurt people hurt people. That's why the cycle of hate and hurt continue to live on unless we are the change as parents first that this world needs. We are here for you, and this is what this community is all about. Don't just survive, thrive. The Single Daddy Daily way.
We are a movement, we are a tide, and we are rising.
What's up, everyone? Evan and Drew here, your hosts of the Single Daddy Daily podcast. Welcome back to another episode. And this is one of those episodes where, we're living in very
shit.
What?
Just that's what I'm saying. This is one of those episodes where, oh shit.
I thought something happened, like someone coughed on you, but virus pandemic is becoming more and more serious every day, it seems like, and we're stuck indoors. I've had to cancel travel. Evan's probably had to cancel some travel. And not going to Walmart or Costco or going out in public. I actually stopped going to the gym. So I'm working out from home. Yeah, very interesting time. So we want to do a special episode about this because we're all parents, listening to this podcast, and we want to go over some things that might be helpful. And Evan might have some expert advice for us as well, some things that can help us out in the situation. But also we want to go over what we're doing as parents to keep our kids engaged and positive, and what we can teach them, what lessons we can teach them during this time. So, Evan, how are you doing, man? Have you been coughing, or you been okay?
Physically, I've been okay. Mentally, I'm going to be honest, I haven't been well.
Yeah.
And yesterday was a really, really rough day for me. As two guys who travel a lot for business, as two guys who get on planes consistently and go engage with people, this feeling of isolationism is really, really overpowering.
Yeah.
And then to top things off yesterday, I'm going to lose it again.
That's okay.
I had to tell my daughter that her birthday party was canceled.
Oh, man.
Because of the virus. And not only did I have to tell her that, but I had to tell her that via FaceTime because she's with her mom right now. And how do you talk to a 5-year-old whose biggest thing in their world right now is their birthday party? That this pandemic, this thing that has the potential to kill a lot of people, is going to reshape our way of life. Is the cause of that? And the answer is, I don't know. I mean, I think the answer is you can't. And so, yesterday was not a great day. This sense of isolationism then gets compounded with having to have that conversation with my daughter, which then is compounded by the fact that I can't even hold her while she's crying and she's upset. And I know that a lot of people are going through this right now. Our kids are home from school. We're trying to figure out what to do with them. We're trying to figure out how do we communicate with them. We're trying to figure out so many things. We're trying to figure out, let's be honest, how to wipe our asses right now. It's not good out there. And I'm the least alarmist person on the planet. I'm like,
yeah.
I think we're going to survive. I think that from the physiological standpoint, from the epidemiological standpoint, from the virology standpoint, yes, this is a big deal, but there are things that we can do. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the podcast on how we can kind of help ourselves, overcome and thrive in this one. But I got to be honest right now, Drew, it's been rough. And for someone who doesn't really see things in the context of this is all doom and gloom, to feel this way has been a challenge. And I want to recognize that these are going to be tough times, right? And it's not going to get better tomorrow. It's not going to get better the day after. This could be weeks. It could be months.
Yeah.
And so how do we, as Single Daddy Daily, provide a community where our listeners, our followers, the people who have heard us talk about everything from your divorce to my hemorrhoid story, become a part of a community that allows us to connect and not feel so alone when we are alone. And that's what I wanted to talk about today, right? Like, we can talk about, hand sanitizer, and we can talk about staying, 6 feet away from people, and, all of those things, how to stay healthy. And those are great. But I kind of just wanted to throw that out is this recognition that we're all feeling this right now, right? This is not wine and roses. I know that there are people who are thinking like, oh, I don't have to go to work, or, it's summer break begins early. That's not the case. And so I think the real challenge and opportunity is to frame this as this is the shit that we're in, and how do we do it together? And you and I have always come together in a sense of we wanted to create a community, and now more than ever is our chance to be that community for people who need a sounding board. So guys, I want to challenge you. We're going to drop this one pretty quick, right? We're recording obviously prior to us dropping this podcast, but this is going to come out pretty quick. And so I challenge you guys, get on the Single Daddy Daily Instagram, get on our website, reach out to the people that, it's the phone. We've got technology protocols in place that allow us to stay connected without, being in proximity. And so people are hurting right now. People are scared, and there's nothing wrong with picking up the phone and saying, hey, how you doing? But then also recognizing that we can't make all our conversations about this virus.
Yeah.
Speculation will run rampant. We can talk about what it looks like. How's the virus packed? We can talk about all the things that don't change what the situation is. What we can talk about is how do we heal? How do we support each other? And how do we move forward? And so I encourage you, it's like, yeah, get the nasty crap off your chest, but then pivot and let's talk about what are we going to do? What do you need? What are things that you can do in your home to not feel so isolated? What are things that you can do in your home to be healthy and to ride this out? And so when the dust settles, that we can, like the phoenix, rise from the ashes and come out of this stronger than when we went in. So that's my rant. That's my not feeling great, but we're going to get through this. And so I guess as we pivot back to, we got a virus. How do we stay safe? How do we stay sane? How do we support our kids through this? But before we even get to that, I want to talk about how do we talk to our kids about what's going on in the world right now. And I guess my first question to you, Drew, is your girls are a little bit older than mine. Have you talked to them about this, and what have you said?
Yes, I have. So first of all, I just want to say thank you for sharing that. I didn't know that you had to go through that because that's so hard. I think everyone listening out there can relate to some ways where you can't fix your child's broken heart, even though you want to so bad. So thank you for sharing that first and foremost. And then also everyone listening out there, we hear you, we feel you, we're right there with you. These are tough times for a lot of us. I know for a fact that we will get through this. It's just really weird with the way things are. We have to be distant from everyone, but with technology, we have podcasts, we have, we have Netflix, we have social media, all kinds of stuff to stay connected. So don't use this time to isolate yourself completely. When it comes to me and my girls, I had them during this past week. And we saw things unravel really rapidly, to be honest with you, as it was happening. Because at first it was like, okay, I didn't even talk about it because it was in China and Italy and things were happening overseas. And I was like, I'm not worried about it. Like, we're still going to go about our lives as normal. And then all of a sudden it was like one day where President Trump, got on TV and gave his address to the nation about how serious this was becoming. And then that night we were watching NBA and the Utah Jazz were playing the Oklahoma City Thunder, and that game was postponed because one of the players tested positive for the coronavirus. And then it was like, then the NBA shut down. Then is a trickle effect. And I was like, okay, this is getting serious now, where these NBA players, and 2 of them are from the Utah Jazz, so here in Utah, I talked to my girls openly about it. I said, here's what's going on. There's this virus that's been going around, and I didn't use any kind of fear tactics. Like, I didn't let them know I was worried. Because one, I wasn't too worried about it, and I'm not freaking out, and I didn't want to come across as fearful of, okay, let's go out and buy toilet paper and hand sanitizer, because that's what we saw people doing on the news. But I did tell them about, okay, this is kind of serious, and these things are happening. And my girls are older now; they're 8 and 10, and they understand the situation. I think it was like the next day we heard that school was going to be canceled. And so then they're like, okay, they were kind of sad about that because they're at that age where they still like going to school. And I'm like, oh man, I hope you guys, I told them, I was like, I hope you guys stay this way when you're teenagers. Please, like, if you could love going to school that much where you're sad about missing out on school, like, that would be awesome. Like, I hated school as a teenager. So it was a time for us to come together as a family, and we talked about it a lot, and it brought us closer together because we had conversations, they had questions. And I think as a parent, all the parents out there, coming from a place of hope and facts instead of fear, worry, and desperation, I think that's really important. And I'm not saying you can't talk about, okay, this could be serious and there is some fear, but if you're coming from a place where you're full of fear and you're worrying constantly about this because you can't control it, then I feel like that can pass on to them where they think, oh no, like, are we going to die? Is so-and-so going to die? We had really good conversations with them. And I just have to say, with you and your daughter having to cancel her birthday, and consoling her about that, I had to do the same thing with my girlfriend, Julie, because we had to cancel her birthday party this week too. And so I had to, make sure she was okay with that too. And she was kind of bummed, but anyways, it was just kind of funny. I think here's the thing is, yes, it's important to take this seriously. Yes, it's important to, not blow this thing off as no big deal. But at the same time, I look at people kind of going after people who are trying to make jokes or trying to be funny. And I get that there's a serious part of this, but I feel like if we're just too serious all the time, then that just kind of perpetuates the fear and like the worry about all of this, instead of, hey, let's have some balance. Like, I love watching the funny memes out there about this, and I'm not taking it lightly either. But at the same time, we need some humor in our lives. We need some positivity, instead of like, the world's ending, buy all the toilet paper, buy the hand sanitizer. I feel like, man, if you were to die tomorrow and that's all you did was worry, like, I feel like that would be a waste of life. Like, be fearful about it for a minute, but then find the light, find the positivity. Mr. Rogers said, look for the helpers out there and look for ways to help and look for ways to spread positivity. So that's kind of my philosophy. I kind of went on a tangent there, but
no, that's great. And I think that I do want to reiterate what you said, right? We need to be able to laugh at this. Yeah. And look, there's going to be some challenges, right? Let's be honest. The data suggests that we're going to lose some people. The data suggests that our way of life is going to be changed for a while. We're not saying that you have to laugh at the fact that people are going to die. That's not what this is about. Yeah. We're not saying you have to laugh at the fact that, that there's some serious challenges that we're going to face. But if we can't find our humanity, and our humanity is predicated on our ability to celebrate, to smile, to laugh, to connect with people. Yeah. And all we're concerned with is, can I get that roll of toilet paper? Can I buy enough hand sanitizer? Do I have enough food to survive the zombie apocalypse? Yeah. What's the point of living if you can't feel alive? And right now, that's the challenge. And so I challenge everybody as we talk about this. What I came up with was my coronavirus bucket list. There you go. Right? You're cordoned off inside your house. You've got some isolationism, and the challenge is that many people are now working from home. They're working in an environment where they've never worked before. Many people are maybe out of work. Many people are wondering, well, how am I going to make ends meet, right? Like, I was a waiter, I was a bartender, I was a gym owner, and now this has changed fundamentally the economic trajectory of my life. So right now is a time to to recognize that we've got some challenges. How do we face those challenges? But to me, it started with, what's my coronavirus bucket list? As someone who has not been in the same spot for more than 4 days, 5 days in a row in what's probably been the last 5 years, like my corona bucket list, the first one is figure out how to create a schedule where I don't lose my freaking mind. And again, like, so what does that bucket list look like? You know, can you learn an instrument that you've always wanted to learn? Is there a stack of books that you wanted to read? You know, did you want to take up running? Like, now's a good time to get outside and run. You know, go to the mountains and go hiking. You know, find a connection to nature, but create a list, 10 things that you want to accomplish while this pandemic is playing itself out, and build into a schedule time every single day to make those a priority. And I think that simple act of creating momentum in our lives gives us a chance to wake up in the morning and be like, I've got to do this. You know, I committed to spending an hour playing the guitar. I committed to spending an hour reading this book. I committed to an hour, you know, doing art projects with my kids. So that was my big one, right? Is like, if I could just create a system that allowed me to focus on the things that I needed to focus on or wanted to focus on, then I know that I can come out of this with a much better attitude and, more importantly, maybe some skills that I didn't have before. So my thought is 30 days from now, I should be able to play some type of thing on the piano that you guys, Single Daddy Daily viewers, are going to be able to see. I'm not promising anything, but I'm going to do my first concert recital, you know, via Instagram on the piano, because I've committed at least to spending that amount of time every single day working on the piano.
I love that. And I would also add in there, do the same thing with your kids. Like, put your kids down there with you and get a piece of paper and say, okay, we're going to be home for at least 2 weeks, right? I know school's canceled in most places for at least 2 weeks. What are some things we want to accomplish? I make a to-do list, make a schedule, you know, get your kids involved with organizing the house or organizing their stuff or wanting to learn something new. I think that's really important. I love that idea of like, all right, what am I going to do with my time? Am I going to waste it watching Fox News all day long and worrying about the world ending, or can I make this a very productive time? I think that's the thing that's missing here, is our perception of the situation. Do you look at this as doom and gloom, the world's over, we're all going to die, and worrying and being full of fear, or can you look at this as a positive? I think there's been so many amazing stories of businesses that have been created in downtimes or positive things that have come out of these situations where, I mean, if you look at this as a blessing rather than a curse, you're being forced in a way by the government or the universe to spend time with family and focus on the things that are actually important in this life, instead of, you know, how many likes did you get on Instagram and all that kind of stuff. I think this is a way of correcting, you know, our way of life, in a sense of like, all right, let's scale it back a little bit. What's really important here? And
Absolutely.
I think if you look at it that way, then there's something positive that's going to come out of this, rather than, you know, how much toilet paper do I need, and you know, how many Twinkies can I buy at the grocery store?
Yeah, so I got to tell you the story, right? And I think this brings up a fundamental issue in our world right now. So, my assistant the other day, this is about a week ago, goes to the grocery store because things are starting to escalate a little bit. I'm like, at this point, I was planning on traveling. So this was before kind of I'd elected not to travel. I was supposed to be in Costa Rica on Saturday. I was actually supposed to be with you right now interviewing Sean T.
Yeah, I know.
And by the way, happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody.
Yes.
So, you know, I send her to the store, get some supplies. She calls me. She's like, no, there's no toilet paper. I'm like, all right, fine. So I go on Amazon, no toilet paper. I type in flushable wipes. Plenty of flushable wipes, right? So I order $500 in flushable wipes, which equates to about 10,000 flushable wipes for my house, right? And I thought it was interesting. The world's freaked out about toilet paper, but in a time of crisis, we've forgotten to look at alternatives. Now, subsequently, I might have been one of the first, but I certainly wasn't the last, because flushable wipes are no longer available on Amazon. But to that extent, I challenge everybody to think. In times of panic, we forget how to think. Like, what's the alternative, right? Now, what's really the alternative? I got to be honest. Let's talk about poop. There's that great kids book, Everybody Poops.
Yes.
That's gonna happen, right? Well, time your showers to coincide with, you know, your daily bowel movements, right? Like, we can come up with alternatives to things. And that is absolutely the case right now. We can come up with alternatives to our kids not being in school. Now's a really great time, and I'm sure each school has some type of curriculum that they're offering, to help parents, deal with this. But what resources are in place? How much time are you spending every day with your kids on education? Like, this should not be a slide back moment. This should be an accelerator moment. You've got one-on-one time with your kids with hopefully a curriculum that your school's putting out to focus on their education. They should come back from this, more educated, better ready to handle the challenges of their school, better ready to handle the challenges of their curriculum, whatever grade they're in. Make your kids a priority in their education. Make your personal development a priority every single day. Make their personal development a priority every single day. Like, daily yoga, right? Daily meditation with the family. How do we take some of the things that we know have been helpful for us, single daddy daily, in our divorce, in our daily lives, and apply that to a world now that has changed, where we need more meditation, we need more love, we need more structure in how we approach some of these things than ever before. So I think we're both ranting. We're both definitely on the same thing. We could panic and we could go out and buy all the toilet paper in the world, and we can sit around and watch the doom and gloom and let our anxiety levels get us to the point where we're no longer functioning human beings, or we can take the power back and recognize that we have a problem, and the solution to that problem is in our hands, and how we approach every single day with a plan, with an attitude, and with a goal of surviving and thriving as we go through this together.
Yeah, exactly. We went to, before things got really serious, we went to like a craft store and got tons of crafts for the girls to be able to do fun stuff and paint and we're not going out now, but we went and did this before, just to kind of, all right, we're going to be at home, like let's get creative, instead of like you guys on your phones and me on my phone, looking at what's happening around the world. It was a time to, make this a fun time instead of boring and just being disconnected on our phones. Like, I think this is interesting because I work from home, and you do too for the most part, other than like when we travel. And I feel like I'm on my phone less during this time, because I'm kind of like forcing myself to create a different routine, a different situation for myself. So I'm not on my phone as much as I normally am, even though I work from home all the time, because I want to do something different. I think some important things, this maybe we can transition here, of what are some things we can do to help ourselves during the situation. I'm purposely going outside, not in crowds, but just going outdoors and getting out in nature, going for a walk, going for a hike, even if it's cloudy or cold, like getting outdoors a little bit. And just reconnecting with nature, taking in some deep breaths, morning and night. I plan on doing that every single day, unless it's like raining or snowing, but that's part of my routine. And I think that's important for your health, because I've never seen people all of a sudden, okay, now we got to take care of our health. And I wish that people would do that all the time. But so I think this would be a good time to maybe talk about some things we can do for our health, not to say like, hey, these things are going to cure the coronavirus or prevent the coronavirus, but just boosting your immune system right now is one of the most important things, not just physically, but for your mental and emotional health as well. And I think getting outdoors and breathing fresh air is really important as well. And then obviously there's nutrition and there's supplementation and some other things we can do, which I know you're an expert on. So maybe talk about some things you've kind of found that have worked. Just boosting your immune system.
Yeah, so I'm gonna data geek out, because we know that any listeners of Single Daddy Daily know that I like data, and as kind of a scientist, that's become the fun part about trying to understand what's going on here. So, the CDC numbers change daily, the epidemiological numbers change daily, but at the last viable report was an estimated 160 million Americans over the next 12 to 18 months are going to contract the coronavirus. And of that, we're going to have, let's be honest, we're going to have about 1.5 to 2.5 million deaths just based off of the numbers so far. And that number can go up, that number can go down, but current data suggests that right now we're looking at about a 1.5 to 2.5 million person death rate. With that, we know that the vast percentage of those deaths are going to come with comorbidity factors, people who are over a certain age, people who have autoimmune issues, people who have pulmonary cardiovascular issues, right? So as we start to look at the data, then how do we start to look at what the virus does and what we can do about that, right? So we know that this virus really is attacking the lungs.
Yeah.
Much and one virologist I spoke with about this, said it's a really interesting delivery system where it's a virus almost packed inside of a common cold, which is why it spreads so easily. And as a cold, it enters the lungs, and then that's where you're really dealing with a lot of this. So that's where we're seeing the pulmonary edema. That's why people are needing to be intubated, and that's why respirators are in such short demand right now. Is that really the way that we're dealing with this is going after the lungs and allowing the lungs to try to express that fluid so pulmonary edema doesn't end up being the cause of death. So let's look at a couple of the things that we can really do on the front side to really help ourselves prepare to boost our immune system. Now, Drew always said it, like the mental thing of that is absolutely huge. The more stressed out we are, the more our stress response chemicals are going to be up, our C-reactive protein, our cortisol, our homocysteine. That's going to put ourselves in a stress state, which means that we're not going to be in the best place to fight off infection. So get yourself a good meditation routine. Like, don't turn on the news, shy away from the doom and gloom. And if you find yourself doing that, go outside, take a couple deep breaths. Honestly, I have the Breathe app on, which I downloaded from the App Store, and there's 1,000 different meditations on there. Some that are 30 minutes, some that are hours, but some that are 5 minutes. And, get that, put your headphones on, go sit out in the backyard where, hopefully it's not freezing, but even if it is, like, get the fresh air, put on a 5-minute meditation and reset yourself. Now, from a supplementation standpoint, vitamin C, huge, right? Like, we know that's going to be a big immune booster. But one of the things that's really interesting about this virus is that it presents similar to like AIDS. And what we're seeing in this is that a lot of the antiviral medication that's being used to treat it is the same antiviral medication that's used to treat AIDS. Now, interestingly enough, as we kind of look at some of the science on this one, there's a unique parallel between AIDS and just your typical herpes simplex 2 virus, your genital herpes. So one product that's been used for years to treat that or to help prevent outbreaks is something called monolaurin and the amino acid lysine. So what happens is monolaurin, which is just a lauric acid derived from coconuts, binds with lysine, an amino acid, and then that really helps attack the virus, packet that up and close it off, and then, excrete that out through a number of different places. So I highly recommend, if we're going to do this on a supplementation side, just as a daily immune booster, is find monolaurin and lysine. Second couple of things, that obviously is like the vitamin C. There's nothing that you can do right now that's going to hurt. Some of the elderberry licorice I'm a little leery of, but good probiotic, vitamin C, try to eat as healthy as possible. But let's also not ignore that intermittent fasting, something that we've been proven time and time again over the last couple of years, is a really big boon to health. Cellular autophagy, which is the process in which your body rids itself of old or non-viable cells, is one way that we get rid of viral loads. So as we're kind of rationing, as we're looking at, do I have enough food? Don't ignore the fact that putting 16 hours between your last meal of the day and your first meal of the following day doesn't have a substantial health benefit for you right now. So there's a lot of different things that we can do. The most important part, though, is stay positive. If you're symptomatic, recognize, am I symptomatic enough that I need to go to the hospital? If not, stay indoors, keep yourself away from people, stay hydrated, right? Drink as much fluid as you can, get some good tea. Vitamin C, zinc is another great one. But all of this is going to, the virus is going to play itself out in most healthy people. A lot of people are going to be asymptomatic, right? A lot of people have probably already had this and they don't know they have it. So, staying ahead of the protocols, making sure that our goal is to allow the medical community to stay ahead of this. And that's why we're seeing a lot of the things that we're seeing right now is that the goal is not to prevent the spread, it's to allow the medical communities to stay ahead of this. Otherwise, we're going to end up seeing what we're seeing in Italy. And that's, when medical professionals have to start doing triage at the hospital to decide who lives and dies, we've failed. So recognize that these imposed things, these isolation components of this is designed to save people's lives, not just yours, but the people, those comorbidity people who have a higher risk of death as a result of this. They need our help. The medical community needs our help to make sure that this doesn't become an epidemic that really transforms the entire world. So that's my scientific rant. And guys, I think it's there's 1,000 different opinions out there on what you can do, but realistically, it's common sense.
Yeah.
Don't sit at home and drink yourself stupid every day. Don't go out in large crowds. If you have to go out, make sure that you're washing your hands diligently, that, it's just try to keep some distance from people and recognize that the sacrifices, the small sacrifices that we make today, tomorrow, next week, and next month mean the potential that someone lives and that we get out ahead of this rather than saying, oh shit, I shouldn't have gone to the grocery store for the 12th time to try to find toilet paper. Wipe your ass with paper towels, get in the shower afterwards. Toilet paper is not the end game here, people. It is preserving a way of life and preparing ourselves for the fact that population density has put us in a place where viral loads like this have the potential to do what we're seeing now. So if we learn the basic skills on hand washing, on herd immunity, on all the things that we know about this, we're going to be better prepared. And also, one other quick thing, Drew, is we know that we are going to see a spike. The reality is we haven't seen that yet. Then we're going to see the drop off. But when cold and flu season hits, towards fall and winter, we're going to see a spike back again. So we all need to be prepared that even though things might return to some semblance of normality in 3 weeks, in a month, whatnot, that we could see, a rise in this again. So we all just need to be better prepared, and we need to take this opportunity to learn how to live properly, how to adjust properly to these type of environments.
Yeah, I agree.
That was like a 12-minute rant. Sorry.
That's okay. I think everyone was paying attention and taking notes because that was really good information. I think for me, I would rather hunker down and say, all right, no leaving the house for 2 or 3 weeks. If everybody did that, we could get this thing over with, most likely, where we see a decline in number of cases happening versus, oh yeah, just kind of like, half-assed it a little bit and like, yeah, don't go out. But then people are really, still going out and partying. Like I saw videos of people in New Orleans still going out there in St. Patrick's Day today. Who knows what people are going to do if they're going to be irresponsible about it. I feel like that's just going to push this thing longer and longer. Then we have to like push out to 1 month, 2 months, 3 months of this social distancing versus like, hey, if we just nip in the butt now and stay at home for 3 weeks, and be strict about it, then we can get it over with and go back to our normal life, because I don't want to see the economy get hurt as well as, people getting this virus and possibly dying from it. Obviously, that's a horrible thing that could happen, but obviously we don't want this to have a trickle-down effect of affecting our economy, and people can't pay their bills or their mortgages, and then it's just going to be, another 2008 for us, which I don't want to happen as well. And so, hey, let's just all work together, be as strict as possible for the next 3 weeks. That's my opinion. Yeah.
No, I think that's great. And I think one of the things that we need to reframe here is social isolation versus social responsibility. Now, what if we reframe this in the context of your desire to go out and party in New Orleans? What if you knew that had the potential to kill one person or 10 people or 100 people? And if we reframe things in the context of social responsibility, that our responsibility is to protect ourselves, to protect our neighbors, to protect our community, protect our planet by responsibly isolating ourselves and not making stupid decisions because we're 20, we're 30, we think that, oh, I'm completely immune. And yes, there's a possibility that you may be completely asymptomatic. You show no signs of the virus, even though you have it, but you're passing it to other people. You're passing it to someone who's in New Orleans, who's had way too many drinks, who's got an autoimmune system disorder, and all of a sudden that person dies. If you take things in the proper context, the reality is that our isolationism is also a responsibility. And we're not saying don't have a good time, but we're saying, hey, let's pump the brakes a little bit and let's be proactive, right? I kind of think back to the Roaring '20s, right before we get into World War II, and it was really a gluttonous age for us, right? Like right before Pearl Harbor, even the speech was that America was kind of characterized as this, live fast, die young, let's drink, let's party, let's have a good time kind of environment. If we duplicate the mistakes of old, and look, history has littered with stories of this. You go back to the plague in London, you go back to SARS, you go back to Ebola. We know how to do this, but it only happens when people take it seriously. There's a difference between taking it seriously and being afraid of it. And taking it seriously is being proactive, knowing what your resources are, marshaling those resources and doing what's best for everybody in our lives.
Yeah, that's really what flipped it for me, because in the beginning I wasn't taking this too seriously. I was like, oh, this is just, a lot of people are blowing this up. It's becoming a panic and full of fear, and the media is loving this. Like, I was like, I'm not going to die from this. This is just a normal virus. Like, I got this. Like, let's stop, being, panicking and pushing this on the media. And then I started to think about it from a different perspective of like that person that's 75 years old that needs to go to the store and buy something, and I'm the one who's touching stuff, and that person might die from it because I was being irresponsible. I'm like, okay, that makes more sense. Now, instead of just focusing on me and my life and being selfish, I have to think about those other people that could possibly get infected with this virus and could possibly die from it. Imagine if you're 75 years old, you live alone, and you have to go to the store to buy stuff. You're the one that's mostly at risk, but you have no one there to help you. You have to go grocery shop by yourself. You're putting yourself at risk going out in public. So if we were all socially responsible, we would think about those people instead of just ourselves. And so that's really what flipped it for me, of taking it more seriously. Like, all right, we're I'm not going to the gym because I see older people, they can't go to the gym, or they can't go to a restaurant, or they can't go to a grocery store. So I'm gonna take this more seriously and start being more responsible about this. And so anyways, all you guys listening, I'm assuming we're all on the same page about this, and we are taking it more seriously. But I think this was a great episode, just to kind of get some stuff off our chest. I know you in the beginning being able to talk about this and talk through this. I think this is really helpful for me personally, hopefully you as well, Evan, and all the other parents listening out there, of like, what can we do? And also to make, not take it so seriously, but have fun and use this as a positive thing in our lives instead of focusing on the negative side of this. I appreciate you sharing this, Evan. And if there's anything else you want to say, please feel free, because I feel like this is more your episode than my episode. I feel like you're just like, you're killing it, man. You're killing it with like being vulnerable, but then the science, So keep going.
Well, thank you. I think the thing is that this is all our episodes.
Yeah.
I'm going to cross promote here is that most of our listeners know that I also have another digital media platform called Life to the Max. Drew's been on it, and that's with a co-host, Jana Breslin. And last night, I really got to think about something that a different time in our life. And I was really kind of pondering about Edward R. Murrow, the famed journalist who really became famous from doing live broadcasts during the Blitz when Germany was bombing the crap out of London, World War II. And so there was a responsibility that this man felt to get on top of a building and live broadcast while the Germans were dropping bombs all over London. And he became famous for his signature sign-off, which was "Good night and good luck." It was later turned into a George Clooney movie, an Oscar-winning movie. But that saying became synonymous with Londoners as something that they would say to people when they weren't sure that they were ever going to see them again. And this was really some of the heyday when Hitler was bombing the crap out of pretty much everything. So last night, I decided that I wanted to go on and really do my best to emulate Edward Murrow's kind of stance on things. Is how do we take the facts? And the facts are that things are not great right now. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people have lost a ton of money in the market. I'm sure a lot of people are concerned about, can they make ends meet? I'm sure a lot of people are concerned that maybe you're a small business owner. Are you going to survive? Is that restaurant going to reopen? Can we get through this? And what I wanted to do was take the facts and recognize that within the facts, there's still hope. So I decided that I'm going to do this Edward R. Murrow style broadcast every single day on the Life to the Max platform. I encourage everybody to come on over and talk about it. But as we close out this episode, I want to end it with hope. Yesterday was a dark day for me. I think it's been dark for a lot of people, right? And within that darkness, there's the light. And if we focus on that, if we focus on the hope that we can, as a people, get through this, then that can impact our decisions. It can impact how we interact with people, and it can impact our actions. And that action is the momentum that we need to come out of this stronger. So, guys, gals, kids, anybody listening out there, we know it's rough, right? This isn't something that we deal with on a daily basis. This isn't being stuck in traffic. This isn't, oh my God, my Wi-Fi is down. These are real problems facing our civilization, our species. But within that, humanity has shown time and time again that we have the ability, the desire. It's in our DNA to rise above. I want to leave this podcast with: be hopeful, be grateful, and whatever happens, know that Drew and I are here. We're a community, we're a tribe, and whatever it is that we can do on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, that we're going to do to make sure that, a month from now, or 6 months from now, or 60 years from now, that we're all part of the same group of people striving to do the same things, and that's make a better world for us, for our kids, and to be the best people possible. So that's my rant for the day.
Amen and amen, dude. That was beautiful. Thanks, Evan. Thank you guys for tuning into the Single Daddy Daily Podcast. We really appreciate you. Stay safe. Wash your hands, people. Don't touch your face. Don't touch other people's faces. I did see a funny meme, and I posted it. It was probably photoshopped, but it was a CNN title. Said constant sex kills the coronavirus. So hey, it can't hurt if it's with someone you know and trust, and you're not, as long as you're not touching their face. You should be good.
I saw one, we're going to go off the rails with this one, but I saw one that, the appropriate sexual position is doggy style. So that way you're not breathing on each other.
Yes, I've seen that one too. So just giving you guys ideas, and there's probably going to be 9 months from now a lot of
shit ton of babies.
That's so true. The coronavirus baby breeding phase. Yeah, because what else do we have to do? But like I said, that's probably what we need more of anyway. So, but anyways, yeah, like Evan said, stay safe, stay hopeful, you guys, and much love and respect from Evan and I. And we'll be back soon with another positive and hopeful podcast for you guys. So thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to Single Daddy Daily on iTunes. Leave us a 5-star review if you think we deserve it. Reach out to us on social media if you guys have any comments, questions, concerns, suggestions, or if you're interested in coming on the podcast. We're always looking for new guests to interview. So yeah, let us know, and we'll be in touch soon. Have a great one.
Thanks, guys.